The distress signal came at 0300 hours Earth time. Lieutenant Kyle Morrison was asleep in his quarters when the alarm woke him. He was dressed and at his station in under 3 minutes. Commander Jack Peterson stood in the command center, studying a holographic display. His face was grim. "What's the situation?" Kyle asked. "Mining colony on Talvex Prime. Coalition world about 16 hours from here. They're under attack by Kryn raiders. Hostages have been taken." Kyle felt his stomach tighten. "What's the Coalition's response?" "They're sending negotiators. Military support is being assembled. Estimated arrival time is 4 days." 4 days? Kyle couldn't hide his shock. "Sir, the hostages don't have 4 days." Jack looked at him. "I know, that's why I'm waking up the crew. We're going to volunteer." Within an hour, the USS Defender was preparing for launch. Kyle stood in the briefing room with his squad and 24 other Marines, all listening as Jack laid out the situation. The Kryn are raiders, not soldiers. They're armed but not well trained. They took the mining facility because it was poorly defended. 63 Coalition citizens are being held hostage inside the main complex. The raiders are demanding supplies, ships, and safe passage. "What about Coalition security forces on the planet?" Sergeant Danny Hughes asked. 5 security officers. "They're civilians, really, not trained for this kind of situation. They've established a perimeter but can't mount a rescue operation." Kyle raised his hand. "Sir, has the Coalition authorized us to intervene?" Jack's expression was complicated. "Not exactly. I spoke with Admiral Thex. He said they appreciate our concern but don't believe immediate action is necessary. They prefer their negotiation approach." "While people die waiting," Lisa Hayes muttered. "That's their choice," Jack said. "But here's ours. We can reach Talvex Prime in 12 hours if we push the engines. We can assess the situation, plan a rescue operation, and execute it before the Coalition's negotiators even arrive. However, this is completely voluntary. We're not under orders. We'd be acting independently." The room was silent for exactly 2 seconds. Then every Marine stood up. "We're going, sir," Danny said simply. The others nodded in agreement. Jack smiled slightly. "I thought you might say that. Get your gear. We launch in 30 minutes. The Defender jumped to faster than light speed 6 minutes later. Kyle sat in the troop bay with his squad, checking equipment and reviewing what little intelligence they had about the situation. "Talvex Prime is a light gravity world," he read from his datapad. "About 60% Earth normal. Temperature is warm. Atmosphere is breathable for humans. The mining facility is built into the side of a canyon, with 1 main entrance and 2 emergency exits." "What do we know about the Kryn?" Nicole Sanders asked. "Not much. They're described as opportunistic raiders. They avoid military targets and usually flee when confronted with serious resistance. They've never faced human forces before." "They're about to," Ryan Foster said grimly. The 12-hour journey felt longer than it was. Kyle tried to sleep but couldn't. His mind kept running through scenarios, tactics, possible complications. When they finally dropped out of FTL near Talvex Prime, he was almost relieved. Jack's voice came over the ship's intercom. "We're in orbit. I've made contact with Coalition security on the ground. They're surprised to see us and not entirely happy about it. They say the situation is stable and we should wait for proper authorities." Kyle and his squad exchanged looks. Stable meant the raiders were still in control. Stable meant hostages were still in danger. "We're going anyway, aren't we?" Lisa asked. "Gear up," Danny ordered. "We're going anyway." The Defender's shuttle descended quickly. They landed 2 miles from the mining facility, out of sight of the raiders. Coalition security officers met them on the ground. They were small creatures, barely 5 feet tall, wearing uniforms that looked more ceremonial than functional. "You should not be here," their leader said through a translator. "This is a Coalition matter." 63 people are being held hostage," Jack replied calmly. "We're here to help." "Help? By storming the facility with weapons?" "That is not help. That is aggression. That's rescue," Kyle said. "Sir, how long have the raiders been in control?" 14 hours. "Have they hurt anyone?" The security officer hesitated. 3 workers were injured during the initial attack. 2 seriously. We do not know their current condition." Kyle looked at Jack. Jack nodded slightly. "We're going in," Jack said. "You can help us or stay out of our way. Either option is fine." The security officer started to protest, but Jack was already moving. Kyle and the other Marines followed. They moved quickly through the rocky terrain using the canyon walls for cover. Kyle's squad took point with Danny's squad providing support. Two more squads flanked them on either side, creating a coordinated approach. The mining facility loomed ahead. It was built into the canyon wall, a massive structure of metal and stone. Lights shone from windows. Kyle could see movement inside. He raised his hand, signaling the others to halt. "Command, this is Morrison. We're in position. Awaiting your order." Jack's voice came through his earpiece. "All squads report ready. Beginning surveillance." Small drones launched from the squad's positions, flying silently toward the facility. They were barely larger than insects, equipped with cameras and sensors. Within minutes, they had mapped the interior and identified positions of both raiders and hostages. "I count 17 raiders," Jack reported. "Most of them are gathered in the main processing area with the hostages. 3 are patrolling the corridors. 2 are at the main entrance." Kyle studied the layout on his tactical display. "The emergency exits are unguarded." "Confirmed." "Alpha Squad, you'll breach through the east emergency exit. Bravo Squad takes west. Charlie and Delta Squads will create a distraction at the main entrance, then breach when Alpha and Bravo engage." "Rules of engagement?" Danny asked. "Protect the hostages. Neutralize any threat. Try to minimize casualties, but if you have to choose between a raider and a hostage, choose the hostage." "Understood." Kyle led his squad to the east emergency exit. It was a simple metal door, designed to open from inside during evacuations. He placed a small charge on the lock, shaped to cut through metal without creating a large explosion. "All squads in position," he reported. "Charges set. Ready." Jack's voice was calm. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." The charges detonated. Kyle's door blew open. He went through first, rifle raised, moving fast but controlled. His squad followed, spreading out and covering angles. They were in a maintenance corridor. No raiders visible. Kyle moved forward, using hand signals to direct his team. They could hear sounds deeper in the facility. Voices, some shouting. An alarm started blaring. "Contact main entrance," a voice reported over comms. 2 raiders down. Kyle's squad reached an intersection. Left led to the main area where hostages were held. Right led to living quarters. He chose left. They rounded a corner and found a Kryn raider standing in the corridor. The alien was about 6 feet tall, covered in scales, holding a weapon that looked like an energy rifle. It turned and saw the humans. For a second, nobody moved. Then the raider raised its weapon. Kyle fired first. 3 shots, center mass. The raider dropped. "Contact east corridor," Kyle reported. 1 hostile down. Moving to hostage location. More sounds of combat echoed through the facility. Gunfire, shouting, and explosion. Kyle pushed forward, his squad moving with him like a single organism. They had trained for scenarios like this hundreds of times. Every movement was automatic. Muscle memory and instinct working together. They reached the main processing area. The door was closed. Kyle positioned his squad on either side, then counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Danny's squad breached from the opposite side at the same moment. Kyle's team went through their door fast and low, weapons up, scanning for targets. The room was large, filled with mining equipment. Hostages were huddled in one corner, surrounded by raiders. When the doors blew open, the raiders panicked. Some raised their weapons. Some tried to use hostages as shields. One started screaming orders that the translators couldn't process fast enough. Kyle identified threats in a fraction of a second. A raider aiming at Danny's squad. Another reaching for a hostage. A third raising what looked like an explosive device. He fired. 1 shot each, controlled, precise. The raiders dropped. Around him, his squad was doing the same. Shots rang out in rapid succession. Raiders fell. It was over in seconds. "Clear," Danny shouted. "Clear," Kyle echoed. Ryan and Nicole were already moving toward the hostages, checking for injuries. Lisa and 2 others secured the room, making sure no threats remained. "Command, this is Morrison. Main hostage area secure. 61 civilians accounted for. 2 are injured. Requesting medical support. Copy that. Medical team en route. Status on remaining raiders. Charlie squad reporting. Main entrance secure. 4 raiders surrendered. 2 attempted to flee and were neutralized. Bravo squad. West wing clear. Found 2 injured civilians in medical bay. 3 raiders in custody." Kyle let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His hands were steady, but his heart was pounding. The whole operation had taken less than 20 minutes. Coalition security officers finally entered the facility, looking shocked. Their leader approached Jack with wide eyes. "You did it. You rescued everyone." "That was the plan," Jack replied. The alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It wasn't small and it wasn't trying to hide. The massive vessel just hung there in space, silent and waiting. Within hours, every government on Earth knew about it. Within days, the aliens sent their first message. They called themselves the Galactic Coalition. They came in peace. They wanted to meet humanity. Lieutenant Kyle Morrison couldn't believe he was part of this moment. He stood in the hangar bay of the USS Defender, humanity's newest and most advanced spacecraft. His uniform was crisp and clean. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. Beside him stood Corporal Lisa Hayes and a dozen other soldiers, all chosen for this historic moment. "You nervous?" Lisa whispered. "Terrified," Kyle admitted with a small smile. The alien shuttle was different from anything humans had built. It moved without sound, without visible engines. It landed so gently that Kyle barely felt the deck shift beneath his feet. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the shuttle's ramp descended with a soft hiss. 3 figures emerged. They were tall and thin, with smooth gray skin that seemed to shimmer under the hangar lights. They wore suits that looked like liquid metal, flowing and changing with every movement. Their heads were larger than human heads, with enormous dark eyes that took in everything at once. Commander Jack Peterson stepped forward first. He was a tall man with gray hair and a calm face that never showed fear. He raised his hand in greeting, palm forward, the old human gesture of peace. "Welcome," Jack said clearly. "We are honored to meet you." The lead alien moved forward slowly, carefully, as if the simple act of walking required great concentration. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated the words into perfect English. "I am Captain Vrex of the Harmony's Edge. We bring greetings from the Galactic Coalition." The alien paused, its large eyes studying Jack's face. "We must ask, do you truly live on that planet below?" Jack looked confused. "Earth? Yes, of course. It's our home." Vrex turned to look at his companions. They made strange sounds that the translator didn't convert. Then Vrex looked back at Jack. "Forgive our surprise. Your world is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. We did not expect to find intelligent life there, much less a technological civilization." "Deathworld?" Kyle couldn't help but speak up, even though he knew he should stay quiet. Vrex turned those enormous eyes toward him. "A world too dangerous for most life to evolve. Your planet has extreme temperatures. The gravity is crushing. The atmosphere contains corrosive oxygen. The radiation from your star should make complex life impossible. And yet here you are." Lisa laughed softly. "You think Earth is dangerous?" "We know it is dangerous," Vrex replied. "The question that confuses us is how you survived it." The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens asked questions about human history, about Earth's environment, about how humans had developed technology despite living in such harsh conditions. Every answer seemed to surprise them more. Finally, Jack invited the aliens to visit Earth's surface. Vrex hesitated. "Is it safe?" the alien captain asked. "Safe?" Jack repeated. "Captain Vrex, billions of humans live there. We have cities, farms, schools. It's perfectly safe. For you, perhaps," Vrex said quietly. "We will need to prepare. Our species did not evolve under such extreme conditions. We will need stronger environmental suits." After the aliens returned to their ship, Kyle and Lisa walked to the observation deck. Earth hung below them, blue and white and beautiful. "They're afraid of Earth," Lisa said, still sounding amused. "They're afraid of home. Can you blame them?" Kyle replied. "Think about it from their perspective. They probably come from some gentle world where nothing tries to kill you." "That sounds boring." Kyle smiled. "Yeah, it does. Over the next week, more aliens arrived. Scientists, diplomats, cultural specialists. They set up a base on the moon, saying it was safer than Earth's surface. Human representatives began traveling to Coalition space, meeting other alien species, learning about the galaxy beyond their small blue planet. Kyle was assigned to the security team for a group of alien scientists who wanted to visit Earth. They landed in Colorado, in the mountains. It was summer, and the weather was perfect. The aliens stepped out of their shuttle wearing environmental suits that looked like they could survive underwater. Kyle and his team wore simple uniforms and carried no special equipment. "The temperature is acceptable?" one alien scientist asked nervously. "It's about 75 degrees, Kyle replied. "That's pleasant weather. And the oxygen levels? Normal. You're breathing filtered air through your suits, right?" The alien nodded, then looked around at the mountains, the trees, the blue sky. "It's beautiful." Terrifying but beautiful. Kyle led them along a hiking trail. The aliens moved slowly, carefully, stopping often to scan the environment with their devices. They jumped at every sound. When a bird flew overhead, one alien actually fell down in fear. "It's just a bird," Kyle said gently, helping the alien up. "It's harmless." "Harmless?" The alien pointed at the bird with a shaking hand. "It has claws and a sharp beak. It could be a predator. Well, yeah, it eats insects and small animals. But it won't hurt you." "You're too big," the alien stared at him. "You have predators flying freely through your cities." "Sure, birds, cats, dogs. Earth has millions of predator species. And you just live among them?" Kyle shrugged. "We're predators too. It's natural." All three aliens made sounds of distress that their translators couldn't process. They seemed to huddle together, looking around as if danger might strike at any moment. Later, they stopped near a stream. Kyle knelt down and cupped his hands in the water, drinking directly from the stream. "Stop," one alien shouted. "That water is unfiltered. It could contain bacteria, parasites, toxins." Kyle wiped his mouth. "It's fresh mountain water. It's clean. But you didn't analyze it first. You didn't test it. I don't need to. Humans have been drinking from streams for thousands of years. Our bodies can handle it." The aliens looked at each other again. One of them spoke quietly, and its translator picked up the words. "They drink unfiltered water from natural sources. They breathe unfiltered air. They eat organic matter without scanning it first. How are they alive?" Kyle wanted to laugh, but he kept his face serious. These aliens were genuinely frightened. To them, everything humans did was insane. Drinking from a stream was like playing with poison. Walking without an environmental suit was like walking into a fire. That evening, back at the base, Kyle found Captain Vrex standing alone, looking at video feeds from Earth. The alien was watching footage of a city, of humans walking on streets, driving cars, living their lives without fear. "It's amazing," Vrex said softly. "Your people don't see the danger. They don't understand how fragile life should be." "Maybe we're just not fragile," Kyle suggested. Vrex turned to look at him. "No, you are not fragile. That is what concerns us. Every species we have encountered, every member of the Coalition, evolved on gentle worlds. We understand peace because we come from peace. But you come from a world that has been trying to kill you since the day your species emerged. You survived by becoming strong, by becoming dangerous." Kyle thought about that. "Does that scare you?" "Yes," Vrex admitted. "But it also fascinates us. You are not like any species we have ever known. You are from a Deathworld and you thrived there. We need to understand what that means. We need to understand what you are." Kyle looked back at the video feed, at his home planet spinning slowly in space. He had never thought of Earth as a Deathworld. It was just home. But seeing it through alien eyes, he began to understand. Humanity had been shaped by a harsh world. They had learned to survive, to adapt, to overcome. They were stronger than they realized, and the galaxy was about to learn just how strong humans could be. The Coalition's request came 3 months after first contact. They wanted to see human military capabilities, not because they feared humans would attack them, but because they genuinely couldn't understand how a species from a death world would fight. Colonel Greg Lawson was chosen to organize the demonstration. He was a career military officer with 30 years of experience. He had served in conflicts around the world and trained thousands of soldiers. Now he would show aliens what humans were capable of. The demonstration took place at a military base in Nevada. Coalition observers arrived on a cool morning, their environmental suits gleaming in the desert sun. Captain Vrex led the group, along with several military specialists from different Coalition species. "Thank you for this opportunity," Vrex said to Greg. "We are eager to learn about human military operations." Greg nodded. "We've prepared several demonstrations. I should warn you, some of what you'll see might be intense. We have studied your historical conflicts," a Coalition officer named Krell said. "We understand humans have engaged in warfare. However, we believe our data may be exaggerated. Surely no species could be as physically capable as your records suggest." Greg smiled slightly. "You'll see for yourself." The first demonstration was a simple obstacle course. Sergeant Danny Hughes led his platoon to the starting line. 20 soldiers in full combat gear, each carrying about 60 pounds of equipment. "This is our standard training course," Greg explained to the aliens. "It tests speed, strength, endurance, and problem-solving skills." A whistle blew. The soldiers exploded into motion. The aliens watched in growing shock as humans sprinted across open ground, climbed over walls, crawled under obstacles, swung across gaps, and carried heavy objects without stopping. They moved with purpose and power that seemed impossible to the coalition observers. "How long is this course?" Frex asked. 2 miles with 23 obstacles. "And they are running the entire distance?" "Yes, well, running, climbing, crawling. Depends on the obstacle. How long can they maintain this pace?" Greg checked his watch. "They'll finish in about 15 minutes. After a short rest, they could do it again. In combat conditions, soldiers have been known to fight continuously for hours." Krell's translator made a sound like static. "Hours? That's impossible. Our soldiers require rest every 30 minutes during physical exertion." "Different evolution," Greg said simply. "Humans are persistence hunters. We're built for endurance, not speed." Danny's platoon finished the course in 14 minutes and 23 seconds. They were breathing hard and sweating, but they immediately fell into formation, standing at attention as if ready for more. "Are they injured?" an alien medic asked urgently. "They're secreting fluids. Their skin has changed color. Their breathing is rapid." "They're fine," Greg assured them. "That's just sweat. It's how humans cool down. The flushed skin means increased blood flow to muscles. The heavy breathing is bringing more oxygen to their bodies. Give them 5 minutes and they'll be ready to go again." The aliens looked at each other with what Greg had learned to recognize as distress. The second demonstration was hand-to-hand combat training. Private Nicole Sanders and Private Ryan Foster stood in the center of a training mat, both wearing protective gear. "This is controlled sparring," Greg explained. "They'll demonstrate basic combat techniques." The whistle blew. Nicole and Ryan moved. They were fast. Strikes, blocks, grapples, throws. They moved with controlled aggression, each trying to gain advantage over the other. When Ryan swept Nicole's legs, she rolled and came up ready. When Nicole landed a solid hit to Ryan's chest, he absorbed it and countered immediately. Several aliens turned away. Others watched but seemed disturbed. After 3 minutes, the match ended. Both soldiers bowed to each other and shook hands, smiling and discussing the fight like it had been fun. "They were trying to hurt each other," Plick said, his voice shaking slightly. "They were training," Greg corrected, "teaching each other to be better. That's what sparring is. But the violence, the aggression, controlled violence," Greg emphasized. "They know exactly how much force to use. Neither of them is actually hurt. Look, they're laughing together now." "Your species practices violence for recreation," Krell stated. "It wasn't a question. We practice combat for survival. Yes, some humans do enjoy martial arts and fighting sports, but it's not senseless violence. It's discipline, control, understanding your own capabilities and limits." The aliens didn't seem convinced. The final demonstration was live fire exercises. This was what Greg had been worried about. He knew the sound of gunfire alone might terrify the coalition observers. He was right. The first shot from a rifle made half the aliens drop to the ground. The sound echoed across the desert, sharp and loud. More shots followed as a squad moved through a tactical course, engaging targets and coordinating their movements. "They're using projectile weapons," Vrek said, standing but clearly shaken. "Designed to harm organic beings." "Designed to stop threats," Greg corrected. "Yes, humans developed weapons. Every species that survived on Earth had to have some way to defend itself. Claws, teeth, venom, speed. We had intelligence and tools," the demonstration continued. Soldiers moved with precision, communicating through hand signals and short commands. They covered each other's movements, flanked targets, coordinated their fire. It was beautiful in its own way, a deadly dance perfected over thousands of years of human conflict. When it ended, the aliens were silent. Greg led them to a debriefing room. The coalition observers sat quietly, processing what they had seen. Finally, Vrek spoke. "Colonel Lawson, I must ask directly. Are humans a threat to the coalition?" Greg had been expecting this question. He sat down across from the alien captain and chose his words carefully. "Humans are capable of great violence. That's true. Our world made us strong, fast, and aggressive when necessary. We developed weapons and tactics because we had to. But we're also capable of great compassion. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We help those in need. We build instead of destroy when given the choice." "But you could destroy," Krell said, "if you chose to." "Many species could destroy if they chose to," Greg replied. "The question isn't capability. It's intent. Humans don't want war with the coalition. We want friendship, alliance. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. Vrex looked at the other aliens, then back at Greg. Your demonstration was meant to show us your military capabilities. I believe it has also shown us your restraint. Everything we witnessed was controlled, disciplined. You could have shown us weapons of mass destruction. You could have demonstrated unrestrained violence. Instead, you showed us soldiers who are dangerous but also professional. Exactly, Greg said. That's what I wanted you to understand. Yes, humans are warriors, but we're also peacekeepers, protectors. We only fight when we must. Another alien, one who had been silent until now, spoke up. On my world, we have a saying. The most dangerous being is one who knows violence but chooses peace, because they understand what violence truly costs. Greg nodded slowly. I like that saying. The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens asked questions about military structure, training methods, and rules of engagement. They seemed particularly interested in the Geneva Conventions and other laws that humans had developed to limit the cruelty of warfare. You have rules for war? Plix asked, sounding amazed. You acknowledge that war should have limits? War is sometimes necessary, Greg explained. But it should never be cruel. We don't target civilians. We treat prisoners humanely. We try to minimize suffering even in conflict. These rules exist because humans understand the cost of violence. We've paid that cost many times throughout our history. As the coalition observers prepared to leave, Vrex approached Greg privately. I was frightened today, the alien admitted. Watching your soldiers, seeing their capabilities, I understood truly what it means that humans are from a death world. You are dangerous in ways we cannot fully comprehend. And yet you're still here, Greg pointed out. You didn't run. No, because I also saw something else. I saw discipline. I saw control. I saw soldiers who were fierce but not cruel. Strong but not bullies. Vrex paused. I saw warriors who had learned when not to fight. That perhaps is more impressive than the fighting itself. Greg extended his hand. Vrex took it and they shook in the human gesture of respect. We're not your enemies, Captain, Greg said. We never want to be. I believe you, Vrex replied. But I hope you understand why some in the coalition will always be nervous around humans. You represent something we have never encountered. Power without the gentleness of a garden world. Strength born from hardship rather than peace. We can't change where we came from, Greg said. Earth made us what we are. But we can choose what we do with that strength. We choose to protect, to defend, to stand with those who cannot stand alone. Vrex's large eyes seemed to study Greg's face for a long moment. Then perhaps the galaxy needs humans after all. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. As friends who are strong enough to keep others safe. Greg smiled. We'd like that role. As the alien ships departed that evening, Greg stood on the base and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was a galaxy full of beings who had never known violence as humans knew it. They had never struggled as humans struggled. Dr. Amy Cooper had never expected to be teaching aliens about Earth's biology. She was a simple university professor who studied animal behavior. Now she stood in front of dozens of alien scientists, all waiting to learn about life on a death world. The presentation room was on the lunar base. The aliens preferred staying here rather than visiting Earth's surface. Amy understood why after spending time with them. They were gentle creatures from gentle worlds. Earth scared them. Today we'll discuss Earth's food chain, Amy began, pulling up images on the large screen behind her. This is how energy moves through our ecosystem. She showed them a simple diagram. Plants at the bottom. Herbivores eating the plants. Predators eating the herbivores. Larger predators eating the smaller ones. An alien named Plix raised one thin arm. Excuse me, Dr. Cooper, did you say predators? As in animals that hunt and kill other animals? Yes, that's correct. How many predator species exist on Earth? Amy thought for a moment. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands if you count insects and sea creatures. The room erupted in noise. Aliens talking to each other in languages the translators couldn't handle fast enough. Amy waited patiently until they calmed down. You must understand, Plix said carefully. In coalition space, predator species are extremely rare. Most worlds develop without them. The concept of one animal killing another for food is considered, well, barbaric. Amy felt slightly offended but pushed the feeling aside. It's just nature. On Earth, predators keep prey populations healthy. Without them, Herbivores would overeat the plants and destroy the ecosystem. So you're saying death is necessary for life? Another alien asked. In a way, yes. Everything on Earth lives by consuming something else. Plants take nutrients from soil. Animals eat plants or other animals. When things die, they decompose and feed the soil. It's a cycle. And humans? Plix asked quietly. Where are humans in this cycle? Amy switched to a new image. Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. Historically, we were both predator and prey. We hunted animals for food, but we were also hunted by larger predators. The aliens made sounds of horror. Their translators struggled to convey their distress. You were prey? One alien gasped. Your own planet's creatures hunted you? Well, yes. Lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles. Lots of large predators saw early humans as food. And you survived? Amy smiled. Obviously. We learned to use tools to work together to fight back. Eventually, we became the dominant predator on the planet. An alien in the back raised its hand. What does that mean, dominant predator? It means nothing hunts us anymore. We're at the top of the food chain. We hunt everything, but nothing hunts us. The silence that followed was heavy. Amy realized she might have said something disturbing. Dr. Chris Bennett, who was helping with the presentation, stepped forward. Maybe we should show them some examples of Earth's predators. Amy wasn't sure that was a good idea, but she pulled up a video anyway. It showed a lion hunting a zebra on the African plains. The lion's speed, the chase, the final moment. Some aliens looked away. Others watched in what seemed like horrified fascination. This is normal on Earth? Plix asked weakly. Completely normal. This happens thousands of times every day, all over the planet. And humans watch this? For entertainment? Amy glanced at Chris. Well, nature documentaries are quite popular. Several aliens stood up and left the room. The others sat in stunned silence. Amy decided to end the presentation early. Later that day, Amy found Captain Vrex in the observation lounge. He was staring at Earth as he often did. I'm sorry if my presentation was disturbing, Amy said, sitting down beside him. You have nothing to apologize for, Vrex replied. You simply showed us the truth. Your world operates on principles we find difficult to accept. What's your world like? Vrex's eyes seemed to soften. Beautiful. Peaceful. My species evolved on a planet with gentle weather, abundant food, and no significant threats. We have animals, but they are all herbivores. Plants grow easily. Rain falls regularly. The temperature varies by only a few degrees throughout the year. That sounds wonderful. It is, but it also made us weak. Vrex looked at her. We never had to fight for survival. We never had to overcome predators or harsh conditions. We simply lived and thrived and eventually developed technology. When we reached space, we found that most species evolved similarly. The galaxy is full of beings from gentle worlds. Until you met us. Until we met you. Vrex agreed. You are different. Your world forced you to become strong, to adapt, to survive impossible conditions. Every day of your existence has been a battle. Amy thought about that. I never saw it that way. Earth is just home. That is what makes you remarkable, Rex said. You don't see the danger because you have lived with it always. To you, being hunted by predators is simply history. Living in a harsh environment is simply normal. But to us, it is terrifying. Over the following weeks, more cultural exchanges took place. Humans learned about coalition technology, art, and philosophy. Aliens learned about human history, culture, and survival. A team of human soldiers visited the coalition's central world, a place called Harmony. Lieutenant Kyle Morrison was part of that team. When they arrived, Kyle was struck by how beautiful everything was. Gentle hills covered in soft grass, trees with wide leaves that swayed in a light breeze. The sky was a pale purple, and 2 small moons hung above the horizon. It's like a painting, Lisa Hayes said beside him. A coalition guide named Trell met them at the landing pad. Welcome to Harmony. We are pleased to host you. As they walked through the city, Kyle noticed how different everything felt. The buildings were smooth and curved without sharp edges. The streets were quiet. People moved slowly, peacefully. There were no vehicles, just gentle transport pods that floated silently along designated paths. Your world is very calm, Kyle observed. Calm? Trell looked confused. This is simply how life is. Is your world not calm? Kyle thought about Earth. About cities with millions of people. Cars honking, construction noise, planes overhead. Constant movement and energy. Not exactly. They visited a park where coalition citizens were relaxing. Some sat by a pond. Others walked slowly along paths. Everything was quiet and peaceful. "Do your people ever run?" Lisa asked suddenly. Trell looked at her. "Run? As in move quickly on foot? Why would we do that?" "For exercise. Or to catch something. Or to escape danger." "We have no need to escape danger," Trell said. "There is no danger here, and we do not understand this concept of exercise. We move as needed. Running would be unnecessarily tiring." Kyle and Lisa exchanged looks. Kyle decided to demonstrate. He jogged a short distance, maybe 50 feet, then jogged back. Several coalition citizens stopped what they were doing to stare. Trell looked worried. "Are you unwell? Do you need medical assistance?" "No, I'm fine. That was just light jogging. But your heart rate has increased. Your breathing is faster. You have stressed your body for no reason." "It feels good," Kyle explained. "Humans like to move. We like to push our bodies." Trell seemed to consider this. "Because you come from a world where physical strength was necessary for survival." "I guess so. We're built for movement. Our ancestors walked dozens of miles every day, hunting and gathering food. We ran down prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Our bodies are designed for endurance." "Remarkable," Trell said softly, "and disturbing." That evening, the human team was invited to a formal dinner with coalition officials. The food was all plant-based, bland but nutritious. Kyle tried to be polite, but everything tasted like cardboard. "This is your regular food?" he asked. "Of course," their host replied. "Nutritionally balanced and cultivated without harming any living creatures." Lisa leaned over to Kyle. "I would kill for a cheeseburger right now." Kyle tried not to laugh. He knew aliens would find that statement horrifying. The idea of humans eating the flesh of dead animals, combined with dairy from another species, was something coalition citizens couldn't comprehend. After dinner, Vrex pulled Kyle aside. "I must ask you something. When humans say they would kill for something, is that simply an expression, or do you truly consider violence so casually?" Kyle realized his conversation with Lisa had been overheard. "It's just an expression. It means we really want something. We don't actually mean we'd kill for food. But you could," Vrex said. "If necessary, humans are capable of great violence." Kyle met the alien's enormous eyes. "Yes, if necessary, we can fight. We can hurt. We can kill. But we choose not to. That's what makes us civilized. Not the inability to do violence, but the choice not to." Vrex was quiet for a long moment. "I am beginning to understand. Your species learned violence from your world, but you also learned control, restraint. You are dangerous, but you are not cruel." "We try not to be," Kyle said. As the humans prepared to return to Earth, Kyle stood on the landing pad and looked around at Harmony one last time. It was a beautiful world, perfect and peaceful, but it wasn't home. It couldn't be home. Humans needed more than peace. They needed challenge. They needed purpose. They were children of a death world, and that would never change. The Galactic Coalition Council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of worlds filled the curved seats that surrounded the central platform. Lieutenant Kyle Morrison had never seen so many different alien species in one place. Some were tall, some short. Some had fur, others scales or smooth skin. But they all had one thing in common today. They were all talking about humans. Kyle sat in the observation area with Commander Jack Peterson and several other human representatives. Below them, the council was in heated debate about what had happened on Talvex Prime. The humans acted without proper authorization, one delegate was saying. They entered coalition space, engaged in military action, and used lethal force. This cannot be acceptable behavior. Another delegate stood. They saved 63 lives, lives that would have been lost if we had waited for our own forces to arrive. Should we condemn them for this? We should commend their intentions while noting their methods were extreme. Extreme? They were effective. Kyle watched as the debate continued. Some aliens seemed grateful for human intervention. Others seemed frightened by how quickly and violently humans had acted. A few seemed both grateful and frightened at the same time. Captain Vrex was present, sitting with the coalition military advisors. He caught Kyle's eye and made a small gesture that Kyle had learned meant reassurance. The alien captain had been surprisingly supportive since the rescue. Finally, Admiral Thex called for order. The room quieted. The admiral was an older being from a species Kyle didn't recognize, with silver skin and 4 arms. "We have heard many opinions today," Thex said, his voice amplified through the chamber. "Some praise the humans. Some condemn them. Some do both. But we must make a decision. How does the coalition respond to this incident?" A delegate from a world called Zenthar stood. "I propose we formally censure the humans for their unauthorized action. We must establish that coalition space is not a place for unilateral military operations." "I disagree," another delegate countered. "The humans responded to a crisis we were too slow to address. We should thank them, not punish them." "Perhaps," Vrex said, standing from his seat, "we should ask the humans themselves why they acted as they did." Thex nodded. "Commander Peterson, would you address the council?" Jack stood and walked to the central platform. Kyle watched him descend the stairs, calm and confident. When Jack reached the platform, he looked around at all the alien faces watching him. "Members of the council," Jack began, "I want to be clear about what happened on Talvex Prime. We were not trying to disrespect coalition authority. We were not trying to demonstrate human superiority. We simply saw people in danger and knew we could help." "But you used violence," the Zenthar delegate said. "You killed several raiders." "Yes," Jack replied. "We gave them opportunities to surrender. Some did. Others chose to fight. We protected the hostages. That was our primary objective." "Why did you not wait for proper authorities?" Jack's expression was serious. "Because people were suffering. Because every hour that passed increased the danger. Because we had the capability to act immediately." He paused. "I understand the coalition prefers negotiation and patience. Those are admirable qualities. But sometimes immediate action saves lives that patience would cost." Another delegate spoke up. "You say you wanted to help, but your methods suggest you wanted to prove something, to show us how dangerous humans can be." "No," Jack said firmly. "We wanted to show you that humans can be trusted, that when we say we're your friends, we mean it. Friends help each other. Friends don't stand by while others suffer just because proper paperwork hasn't been filed." The chamber was quiet. Kyle could see aliens whispering to each other, their translators creating a soft background noise. Vrex stood again. "If I may speak, I have spent considerable time with humans since first contact. I have studied their history, their culture, their nature. They are from a death world. This is not simply a classification. It is their reality. They evolved in constant danger, surrounded by predators and harsh conditions. They learned to act quickly because hesitation meant death. They learned to fight because their world gave them no choice." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But they also learned compassion. They learned cooperation. They learned that strength should protect the weak, not exploit them. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are violent when necessary. But they are also exactly what the coalition needs." "What do you mean?" Admiral Thex asked. "We have built a civilization based on peace and negotiation," Vrex explained. "This is good." "This is right. But we have also become slow, cautious, unable to act swiftly when action is required. The humans remind us that sometimes peace requires strength, that sometimes protection requires the willingness to fight." The Zenthar delegate looked angry. "You suggest we become more like them? More violent?" "I suggest we learn from them," Vrex replied. "Not to abandon our values, but to understand that different situations require different responses. The humans did not start the crisis on Talvex Prime. Raiders did. The humans ended it. Quickly, efficiently, and with minimal casualties. Can we honestly say our approach would have been better?" More murmuring filled the chamber. Kyle noticed that some delegates seemed to be reconsidering their positions. Another alien stood, this one from a species Kyle recognized as Voth. "I was one of the hostages on Talvex Prime. I would like to speak." The chamber went silent. "My name is Krell. I am a mining engineer. When the raiders came, they were violent and unpredictable. They injured my colleagues. They threatened to kill us if their demands were not met. We were terrified." Krell paused, his voice shaking slightly. "Then the humans came. I heard gunfire. I heard shouting. I thought we were all going to die. But within minutes it was over. The raiders were gone. The humans were checking on our injuries, calling for medical help, making sure we were safe. They moved so fast. They were so efficient. They saved my life." Krell looked directly at Jack. "I do not care that they did not have proper authorization. I do not care that their methods were violent. They came when we needed them. They risked their lives for ours. That is all that matters to me. Several other former hostages stood and echoed Krell's words. The mood in the chamber was shifting. Finally, Admiral Thex raised one of his four hands for silence. We will take a vote. The question before us is simple. Should humans be censured for their actions on Talvax Prime, or should they be commended? The vote took several minutes. Kyle watched the display as numbers climbed. When it finished, the result was clear. 67% voted to commend human actions. 23% voted for censure. 10% abstained. Thex announced the results. The council has spoken. The humans acted outside normal protocols, but their intentions and results warrant recognition rather than punishment. Commander Peterson, on behalf of the Coalition, we thank you and your people for your assistance. Jack bowed slightly. We're honored to help. However, Thex continued, this incident has raised important questions about human integration into Coalition society. We need to establish clear guidelines for future situations. We need to understand each other better. We agree completely, Jack said. We want to work with the Coalition, not outside it. We want to be partners. Later that day, Kyle stood with Jack and Captain Vrex on an observation deck overlooking Coalition headquarters. The building was on Harmony, the Coalition capital world, and the view was spectacular. That could have gone worse, Kyle said. It could have gone better, Jack replied. There are still plenty of council members who don't trust us. They fear you, Vrex said. But fear and respect are often companions. Today humans earn both. What happens now? Kyle asked. Rex looked at him. Now we move forward. The council will propose formal alliance terms. Humans will become associate members of the Coalition. It is the fastest such elevation in our history. And the ones who voted against us? They will watch. They will wait. They will look for reasons to validate their concerns. Rex's large eyes were thoughtful, but I believe over time they will see what I have seen. Humans are not perfect. You are aggressive, impatient, sometimes reckless, but you are also loyal, brave, and willing to sacrifice for others. These are valuable qualities, Jack smiled. You're starting to sound like you actually like us. Perhaps I do, Vrex admitted. You are strange, fierce, impossible friends from a death world, but you are friends. That is what matters. 3 weeks later, the formal ceremony took place. Humans were officially welcomed as associate members of the Galactic Coalition. It was a historic moment, broadcast across hundreds of worlds. Kyle stood in formation with his squad, wearing their dress uniforms, representing humanity's military forces. Beside them were scientists, diplomats, artists, and civilians, all part of the diverse group that made up humanity. Admiral Thex gave a speech. Today we welcome a new species to our coalition. They are different from us in many ways. They come from a world we would find hostile. They have capabilities that surprise and sometimes frighten us, but they have also shown us something we had forgotten. That strength can serve peace. That warriors can be protectors. That being dangerous does not mean being cruel. He paused, looking at the human delegation. The humans have reminded us that the universe is not always gentle.